My sister disappeared 5 months ago. 1 week ago, she came back. I'm posting this from my girlfriend's account, mainly because I don't want my sister to know that I suspect something. She doesn't know about this subreddit, but she might find this post if I use my laptop or my account, and I can't risk that. I can no longer trust her. She probably already knows that I'm suspicious of her, but I don't want her to have that confirmed. My sister, let's call her Leah. She's 4 years younger than me, and I've always been very protective of her. I was always her big brother, and ever since we were children, she would always rely on me. Even though she's no longer a child, she's 17 years old, this hasn't changed. By the end of January, Leah and her best friend Sandra were working on an article for a school newspaper. It was supposed to be a series about urban legends, creepy places, etc. You get the picture. They're both big horror fans, and real creepy places is something of a hobby of theirs. Fortunately for them, our little town has a creepy abandoned house with its own legend, and they were going to write all about it. I confess, I don't know much about this house. It's been abandoned for at least 15 years, and before that, 2 young men used to live there. Pretty much nobody can agree on who exactly they were. Some say they were stepbrothers, others say they were best friends. A few people think that they were secretly lovers. Our little town is pretty homophobic, even now. I can't imagine what it was like at the time. The point is, nobody really knows anything about them. The only thing everybody can agree on, at least those who remember at the time, is that one night, their neighbours heard screaming from the house. When the police arrived, both men were gone, with all of their things left behind. Now, I don't know if my sister's disappearance had anything to do with this house, but considering everything that happened the day that Leah disappeared, there's a strong possibility that it does. That day, Leah and Sandra met at Sandra's place and have decided to visit the place and take some pictures of the interior. They explored the entire house, but Sandra didn't feel well, and after some time, Leah has suggested that she goes back home and lie down. Sandra left the house, and that was the last time anyone's seen my sister. The following 5 months were the worst time of my life. I felt like I disappointed Leah somehow. I always looked after her, and now I didn't do anything to protect her. And yes, I know that's completely illogical and that I couldn't possibly save her. I was at work when she went into the house. However, I still felt guilty, and I put everything that I could into searching for her. The first month, people from the town were really helpful, organising search parties, putting up all those "Have you seen me" posters, supporting my family, etc. But after a while, all of that had died down a bit. There was no sign of her, and everybody started to presume Leah was dead. The only people who still kept looking were my parents, me, and Sandra, who felt extremely guilty for leaving Leah alone. We just didn't believe that she was dead. I knew I'd only accept it if I saw Leah's body. And suddenly, exactly 1 week ago, Leah came back. And that was the strangest thing that ever happened to me. I'm not talking about the fact that she came back after disappearing for 5 months without a trace, but more about the circumstances of her return. First, nobody is ever sure how exactly she came back. I'm not kidding. It was raining the day that she reappeared, and not many people were wandering the streets, which probably explains the lack of witnesses. Apparently, what happened is that a local woman was going to the shop, turned around the corner, and saw Leah walking down the street. Leah appeared disoriented, but unharmed, which is what brings me to the second weird thing about her return. She hasn't changed at all. At least not physically. She still has the same haircut, her nails are polished the same colour, she hasn't gained or lost weight. She was wearing the same clothes, and as far as I could tell, it wasn't damaged in any way. In other words, it's almost like those 5 months didn't even happen. She literally looks the same. She doesn't have any scars, cuts, or bruises either. I'm glad she wasn't harmed, of course, but it's so strange. And the third thing is, she claims that she doesn't remember anything that happened in those 5 months. I talked to her, and she insists that the last thing she remembers is saying goodbye to Sandra, and her next memory is walking down the street in the rain and not quite remembering where she was. As you can see, there's so many weird things about it, and I don't like it one bit. I'm so glad Leah is home, and I have my sister back, but here's the thing. I'm not even sure she's the same Leah anymore. If what she claims is true, and she doesn't remember those 5 months, then she'd probably be the same, right? I mean, if that's the case, she must be confused and probably frightened by this all, but otherwise she'd still be the same old Leah. I don't know much about psychology, though. Maybe there could be some hidden trauma or something. I don't know anymore. You see, the thing is, she frightens me now. There's something in her eyes that wasn't there before. There's no real warmth in her anymore. She smiles at me, but it never quite reaches her eyes. But then, I see her thinking about something, lips quirked up and her eyes narrowed, and she looks terrifying. Sometimes I catch her staring at me, and her gaze is so cold and calculating. She's planning something, I can tell. I just don't know what it could be. I don't believe she doesn't remember anything from the past 5 months. I know she's seeing a therapist. I don't know if he believes her or not. I don't know if the police believe her. But I don't. I'm not sure what to do. I want to get to the bottom of this. I need to know what really happened to her, and I'm going to keep posting here any chance I get. I want there to be a record of this, especially in case something happens to me as well. I'll write the next post as soon as I can.